All right, welcome to this explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today because we're tackling something literally every single language learner struggles with at some point: the dreaded, awkward silence. You know the exact feeling, right? You've memorized the vocabulary, you understand the grammar rules inside and out, but then a real live person stands in front of you, says hello, and your mind just goes completely blank. Well, today we're going to transform all that rote memorization into a real-world conversational toolkit. We're looking at 5 foundational patterns for English fluency. Let's get right into it. It all comes down to one big question. Want to answer common English questions with confidence? If you're sitting there nodding your head yes, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to walk through a practical step-by-step guide designed specifically for everyday interactions. We're looking at the exact formulas that take the panic out of speaking, completely replacing it with smooth, predictable patterns. Section 1. Mastering the introduction. Okay, let's dive into this. Every great conversation has to start somewhere, and the first phase of meeting someone new relies on pattern 1. This is the absolute cornerstone of introductions. What do you do? It's the foundational question used to establish identity in almost any professional or social setting. Think about it. When you meet someone at a party, a networking event, or even just waiting in line for coffee, this is the question that pops up most often. It's the primary way we establish exactly who we're talking to. And here is exactly how you handle it. Think of these options as your empowering menu, so to speak. You just plug your reality into these phrases. According to our source material, you might say, I'm a teacher, or I'm a student. If you're in commerce, you could say, I run a business, or I'm a businessman. Maybe you're a fashion designer, or you work as an engineer. You could own a shop or teach English. The structure stays incredibly steady. It's always I am a, I work as an, or I run a, and you literally just select the vocabulary that accurately represents your own life. Easy, right? So how does this actually play out in real life? Well, if someone asks, what do you do? And you answer, I am a teacher, they might naturally follow up with, oh, what do you teach? You can seamlessly reply, I teach English. Just notice how incredibly natural that back and forth is. It doesn't sound robotic at all. It sounds like two real people genuinely engaging. You use a simple pattern, and it naturally prompted the other person to ask for a bit more detail. Let's keep moving and see how this builds our conversational foundation. Once you've established what you do, the next logical step in a new introduction is establishing your geography and background. And that brings us perfectly to pattern 2. Where do you live? Just like our first pattern, the response here is beautiful in its absolute simplicity. You really don't need a complex geographical explanation. The source gives us these clear, direct examples. I live in Karachi. I live in Islamabad. I live in Lahore. The pattern is literally just I live in, followed by your city. It's direct, it's crystal clear, and it keeps the conversation moving seamlessly. Let's see this one in action. When asked, where do you live, you simply answer, I live in Islamabad. And if the other person replies, that's nice, they're actually using an often overlooked secret of English fluency, the polite acknowledgement. Just saying that's nice keeps the whole interaction friendly and warm. It shows they're listening, and it completely validates your answer before moving on to whatever the next topic is. Section 2. Finding common ground. All right, so now we're transitioning away from basic facts like your job and your city to actually building a personal connection. And to do that, we rely on pattern 3, what do you like? Think of this question as a master key. It unlocks discussions about hobbies, passions, shared interests, the whole shebang. This is the exact moment where a polite, formal exchange starts to turn into a real friendship. Now, what's really interesting about this is how universally relatable the examples are. How do you answer? You simply say I like and then add the activity. I like reading books. I like cricket. I like traveling. These are fantastic anchors for conversation because they instantly invite the other person to say, oh, no way, me too. Who's your favorite author? Or which cricket team do you support? In a real everyday exchange, it's incredibly straightforward. Someone asks, what do you like? And you answer, I like reading books. Boom! From that single sentence, an entire hour-long conversation about literature could blossom. And really, that is the true power of mastering these simple patterns. Section 3. Deepening the connection. So once you've found that common ground, it's time to introduce the third stage of our conversation arc. This is where we move completely past basic small talk and step into daily experiences and reasoned opinions. Enter pattern 4. How was your day? You'll hear this everywhere. It is an incredibly common question in English, and honestly, it's the perfect empathetic way to check in on someone's immediate experience. It tells the other person that you actually care about what they're going through right now, in the present moment. To answer, our source provides a fantastic menu of emotional reactions. You basically say, it was, and then toss in your adjective. It was great. It was busy. It was wonderful. It was tiring. Notice how these simple little words set the entire tone for the rest of the chat. If you say, it was tiring, you're naturally inviting the other person to ask why or to offer a bit of sympathy. If you say it was wonderful, you're inviting them to celebrate right along with you. Watch how this unfolds in practice. You're asked, how was your day? And you say, it was great. The natural follow-up from them is, oh, what did you do today? To which you might reply, I attended classes and studied. Do you see what happened there? The conversation didn't just hit a wall at, it was great. A simple follow-up question keeps the flow going, which, again, shows genuine interest. And that brings us to our final and perhaps most complex pattern, pattern 5, why do you think so? This is the ultimate tool we use for giving reasons and explaining deeper thoughts. It's exactly how you transition from just exchanging surface-level facts to actually exchanging ideas. Listen to the pattern in these examples. Because it's useful, because I enjoy it, because it helps me learn. So, the absolute crucial point here is the reoccurring use of the word because. Because is the vital bridge. It connects your opinion to your reasoning. Whenever someone asks you why, because is your absolute best friend. Let's tie this all together now. You've already stated that you like reading books. If someone pushes a little deeper and asks why you think reading is important, you bridge that gap with our final pattern, because it improves knowledge. This beautifully links a simple hobby from pattern 3 to a reasoned opinion using pattern 5. It proves that by just stringing these simple patterns together, you can have a really deep, meaningful conversation in English without needing a massive textbook-level vocabulary. Section 4, your daily practice plan. We've covered a lot of ground today. We've gone from basic introductions all the way to expressing complex opinions. But how do you actually make sure these 5 patterns for yourself, your work, your hobbies, your experiences, and your opinions actually stick? Well, our source material gives us the perfect recipe for success. Practice them every day, and you'll become more confident in speaking English. This isn't just a casual suggestion, it's the core recipe. Language is a muscle, and these patterns are your daily exercises. By rehearsing, what do you do, where do you live, what do you like, how is your day, and why do you think so, you are actively building the muscle memory required for true fluency. So, I want to leave you with a challenge. You've got the toolkit, you've got the patterns, you know exactly what to say. Who will you start your first conversation with today? Will it be a colleague, a friend, maybe a classmate? Step out there, use these patterns, and let your conversational confidence shine. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep practicing.